out of script. I remember the first thing that truly hit me when I arrived in Amsterdam. It wasn't the postcard perfect canals or the impossibly tall, narrow houses. It was a sound, a delicate, constant, almost musical ringing. It took me a moment to place it. It was the sound of 1,000 bicycle bells. And in that sound, I realized I'd arrived in a city that moves to its own unique rhythm. Before I came here, I had a version of Amsterdam in my head, built from photos and stories. A city of serene canals, historic gabled houses, and fields of tulips somewhere in the distance. And that city is absolutely real. You can spend days just walking, deliberately getting lost in the labyrinth of streets in the Jordanen district. Every corner you turn, there's a bridge that looks like it's straight out of a painting. And those famous leaning houses, they're not an illusion. Here's a little fact for you. Much of the city is built on marshland, so these 17th century buildings were constructed on millions of wooden stilts driven deep into the muddy ground. Over the centuries, as the stilts settled, the houses began to lean, creating this charming, slightly topsy-turvy skyline. They even have hooks at the top, not just for decoration, but for hoisting furniture up through the windows because the staircases are too narrow. It's a city where history isn't just in a museum, it's holding the whole place up. But Amsterdam isn't just a postcard. It has a liberal, pragmatic heartbeat that you feel everywhere, and it asks you to leave your preconceptions at the border. You see it in the famous coffee shops. Now, we all know what that means, but the reality is often different from the stereotype. It's not about shady back alleys. It's about a relaxed, open atmosphere. You see people of all ages, quietly chatting over a cup of coffee, playing chess, and yes, partaking in something that's forbidden in many other places. It's a culture built on tolerance and trust, a philosophy of let people be. And then there's the Wallen, the famous red light district. As you walk through, especially for the first time, the soft red glow from the windows is surreal. But what surprised me was the atmosphere. It's not seedy, it's one of the oldest and safest parts of the city. You'll see families, couples, and tour groups walking through with sheer curiosity. It's another example of that Dutch pragmatism, acknowledging human nature and choosing to regulate and control it, rather than letting it hide in the shadows. My journey here became about discovering the balance between these two worlds. The serene beauty and the unabashed liberalism. It's a city with more canals than Venice, and more than 2,500 houseboats where people actually live, fully connected to city utilities, creating these floating neighborhoods. It's a place where you can spend your morning admiring the genius of Van Gogh, feeling the weight of history in Anne Frank's house, and then spend your afternoon simply watching the world go by from a canal-side cafe. The real story of Amsterdam, the one I found beyond the bells and the stereotypes, is that it's a beautiful contradiction. It's a city that is simultaneously peaceful and buzzing with energy, historic and radically progressive. And when the sun sets, that story gets a whole new chapter. The canals transform, with the bridges lit up, their reflections glittering on the dark water. The energy doesn't fade, it just shifts. The quiet, cozy brown cafes, which are like traditional Dutch pubs, fill up with locals. The lively squares like Leidseplein and Rembrandtplein come alive with music and people spilling out of bars. The red lights of De Wallen glow even brighter, and the whole city feels like it's sharing a collective secret. It's a city that invites you to explore, to question, and to just be. And that's a story worth discovering for yourself.